As of this video, I have 1,775 subscribers.
I want by this time next year, I want my channel to be big enough to make an impact. 3,000, 10,000,
25,000, 500,000,
1 million, 10 million subscribers.
It's been so hard.
Hello everybody, and welcome to Let's Play Amnesia, The Dark Room. Oh man, I wanted to go on to a different game other than another Amnesia custom story right after Loss of Light, but you people and your demands. Anyway.
When most people start a YouTube channel, it's because they want something. To chase a dream, to express themselves, to find their voice. But Mark Fischbach largely started his because he had nothing left to lose. In 2012, he had lost his job, his relationship, and his home. All in the same year that a pain in his side turned out to be a rupturing appendix that would also reveal a tumor in his adrenal gland. And after 2 weeks of losing time and adding plenty of debt, Mark's place in life had hit an all-time low, and there was no clear answer as to what he should do about it. So, he made a choice to try something new.
I ended up recovering in the hospital for about 2 weeks, and had a lot of time to think about what I'd done. It seemed like everything in my life was completely out of my control, and I had no choice in the matter. So finally, I decided that enough was enough, and I was going to do what I wanted. I was going to make my own identity on the internet, where I was able to start a channel that finally made me happy.
Shortly after getting out of the hospital, he spent his tax refund on a camera, and the fog would lift and an answer would become clear when he uploaded his first video to YouTube in April of 2012. After that first upload, he uploaded a new video the next day. And the day after that, and the day after that. And after just 1 month, Google banned his AdSense account. Effectively a death sentence for any YouTube channel. Undeterred, Mark would make a genius creative move. And then, he simply kept going. And while these early days in his career are easy to overlook, the important takeaway from this time isn't the size of his start, but specifically what he chose to do with it. Only 6 months after his first upload, and long before any other YouTuber of that size would have even considered doing so, Markiplier used his budding platform to raise thousands for charity. On a platform where it's hard enough just to get people to click a couple buttons to support your channel, he had mobilized a small clutch of followers to punch above his weight. Not because it was the smart move to do, simply because it's who he was. So perhaps it shouldn't be surprising that his consistency, authenticity, and genuine appreciation for the viewers who supported him would only continue to grow alongside his ambitions. While he would find his footing early on in the horror genre, Markiplier's success came less from the golden era of indie horror games coming out at the time, and more from his genuine, unguarded, and often ridiculous reactions to being scared. For many, these reactions weren't an obstacle to watching a game you were interested in checking out. These reactions were the reason people watched. And before long, Mark would see his channel grow to 25,000 subscribers in less than a year. And with the additional viewers, came additional weight. As the channel grew, so did the stakes that came along with it. And by the end of 2012, Mark was forced to answer a question he could no longer put off. On the one hand, he could finish college and get his biomedical engineering degree. Or take the risk on becoming something that he thought could make an even bigger impact. And when faced with a choice between reliable and safe or ambitious and risky, Markiplier would throw himself entirely at the path less traveled.
I've made it basically a decision that I want to be a big YouTuber someday, and that may take a year to do, but it's something that I want. So, if you guys can help me.
With a call to action put forth and a clear goal in mind, Markiplier's community wouldn't stay small for long. Crossing the 1 million subscriber milestone by 2013 and making the move to LA by 2014, Markiplier's rise to the top was only just getting started, as he was right around the corner from a career-defining moment. On August 12, 2014, Markiplier uploaded his 1,825th video to the channel.
Hello everybody, my name is Markiplier and welcome to Five Nights at Freddy's, an indie horror game that you guys suggested en masse, and I saw that Yamimash played it and he said it was really good. So I'm very eager to see what is up.
It was his typical Let's Play video in his typical style, and for a no-name indie game that had only been out 5 days, from a solo dev that had thus far struggled to find success. However, the pairing of Markiplier's over-the-top reactions and the game's unique brand of boiling tension would push Markiplier to entirely new heights.
Okay, I am panic. I am losing my shit right now.
Within months of that first upload, the game he was playing would become a franchise, and within a year, he would become one of the most watched people on the internet. He sat across from the late-night host and explained, patiently, what a Let's Play even was. He'd only been doing this for 3 years. At this point, the seeds of Markiplier's ambitions for projects he wanted to pursue and creative endeavors he wanted to chase down seemed like it couldn't be stopped. And after crossing the 6 million subscriber milestone after just 3 years, it seemed like nothing was going to be able to slow Markiplier down. Until 2015.
Hey guys, sorry for the long silence. I know that's gotta be weird considering I haven't missed a day's upload since I started the YouTube channel. Daniel KYRE of Syndigo has passed away as of last week after an apparent suicide. And I just wanted to let you guys know that I am going to take some time to process this, because this is just a big loss, because Daniel was such an influence on what we did. He was such an inspiration for what I did. He was such a big influence on us in small ways that you probably didn't know. Daniel was part of what I did, a big part of what I did. And Daniel, he did a lot of things that were often unseen, and I just hope that he knew how much I respected him as a friend.
After more than 2,500 videos without missing a day, including the 3 days he spent in the hospital for emergency surgery, something had finally broken the streak. And while it was clear that Markiplier had lost something extremely valuable with Daniel's passing, it's also fair to say that he might have gained something of value as well. While Mark would eventually return to his Let's Play style videos after several weeks, it was the high production value sketches that Daniel had been so instrumental in developing that were the kind of content Mark truly wanted to explore. It's something he had always been interested in since he started, but if his time working with Syndigo and around Daniel's influence had taught him anything in recent weeks, it's that there's no time like the present to follow those instincts.
Hello everybody, my name is Markiplier and I'm officially back. Now before I get started with this vlog, there's some things that need to be said. And you may be asking yourself, are things gonna be different? Are the videos gonna change? I feel like I'm going to be pretty much the same guy that I was, but also I feel more motivated to do more creative things. Like I've told you guys that I've wanted to do it for a long time, and I told you guys I've had plans to do it. It's just like now it's like, ah, gosh, like what have I been waiting for? What are you doing? Stop talking about it and just do it already. So that's very much my attitude about things right now. I loved every moment that I got to spend with Daniel. I love every single thing that I learned from Daniel, and that's all it's ever going to be about, is making cool things for you guys to see. And I know that Daniel would have, wanted us to keep going in that regard. Just know that I'm so happy to be able to do what I do and entertain you guys, and that's so special. And I can't lose that. I can't lose that because of what happened, and I won't let it.
After crossing the 10 million subscriber threshold, Markiplier didn't rest on the laurels of the massive accomplishment. Instead, he would make good on his stated intentions and would begin pursuing a much wider variety of content. Before long, this would also include creating more cinematic-style content with higher budgets, persistent narratives, and scripted events that represented a much more structured approach to the videos he wanted to make. And just 18 months later, Markiplier would release his most ambitious project to date on Valentine's Day of 2017. Venturing into uncommon ground, the series titled A Date with Markiplier was a choose-your-own-adventure style series that allowed viewers to make choices using YouTube's built-in end card system that would lead to one of 10 distinct endings. Totaling almost 45 full minutes of content across 24 individual videos, this was a massive project and perhaps the first of its kind at this scope and scale. But if any portion of this series stood out as being too limited or underproduced, it was undoubtedly a result of Markiplier also working on a separate series that would release only 3 months later. Asking the question of the series' name, Who Killed Markiplier was a 4-part murder mystery series with elaborate production values, complex narrative scripting, and a meta-level ending that would canonize what has come to be referred to as the Markiplier Expanded Universe. Not only would both of these projects continue to grow his audience, Markiplier would find himself among the YouTube elite by taking a place in the top 10 of all solo creators on the platform within 5 years of his first upload ever. This was then followed by an international meet and greet tour that covered 31 cities across 6 different countries and proved that Markiplier's potential for reaching new viewers had no limit. But if there was one thing more consistent than Markiplier's uploads, it was the universe trying to stop Mark in his tracks.
Hey guys, I had to cancel the stream today, and I won't be able to make videos for a little bit because I just found out about 30 minutes ago that my niece, Miranda, was killed in a car crash, and
Unfortunately, Markiplier had dealt with this type of emotional setback before. And just like last time, he leaned into the value he found in doubling down on his creative pursuits. Only this time, he was simply able to make them bigger than ever before. And after a short break to recover to be with family, Mark would begin launching into a wealth of longer and more cinematic projects that would eventually overlap with a massive opportunity. Dipping their hand into the paid streaming platform service, YouTube would launch a series of YouTube originals that had legitimate funding and resources behind them. And one of the notable inclusions on this list was A Heist with Markiplier. Expanding on the dozen crew members and 10 different endings from A Date with Markiplier, this new series would include a team of 50 people and sport a massive 31 endings, totaling a runtime of a feature-length movie. After A Heist with Markiplier turned out to be a wild success, Mark would shift focus and begin channeling his creative efforts into the loss and grief he had experienced in recent years to find peace in the fleeting permanence of existence. Teaming with close friend and YouTube creator Ethan Nestor, the pair launched an entirely new channel called Unus with one simple goal in mind: create new content every single day for a full year, and then when it was over, delete the channel and let it go. In what was perhaps a love letter to a younger version of himself that hadn't yet had to suffer through the pain and loss of tragedy, Mark's idea was to showcase how the things that last forever can never be as valuable as something you know will be gone. After just a single year, the channel had amassed over 4.5 million subscribers, and in the waning moments of the channel's last gasp, over 12.5 million people tuned in to watch as the channel disappeared forever. After these new and experimental steps in discovering who he wanted to be as a content creator, many would likely point to 2021 and the filming for Edge of Sleep as the major turning point. Edge of Sleep was a 6-part series based off the early construction of an audio play he created by the same name. Though filming for this 6-episode series would complete in the summer of 2021, it wouldn't see release for 3 full years due to being stuck in distribution limbo. Despite being produced by New Regency, which you might recognize from 1,000 major other releases, apparently this production company was having difficulty shopping it around to distributors. While that project sat frozen in time, Markiplier would go on to set a new bar for himself with what might not just be the biggest creative project of his career, but perhaps one of the biggest and most involved productions ever put to YouTube. Including a wealth of visual effects, a wider and more complex narrative than any project before it, and a whole host of additional production elements that earned it an Emmy nomination in the category for Outstanding Interactive Media. And it's fair to say there were very few things out there like it.
It's given me so much. I've learned so much making it, and I've grown as a person and as a creator. I've grown, which is the only thing I've ever wanted ever since I started doing this. I've only ever wanted to improve what I can do. That was why I started YouTube, because I didn't feel like I had any control over my life. And if I didn't do something for myself, then I didn't know who I was going to be. And so now here I am, however many years later, and I actually can do these things. I just want you to watch it. I just want you to enjoy it.
While Markiplier's pursuits of all things epic and cinematic would continue to expand, that didn't mean that he had abandoned his roots. And in May of 2022, what seemed like a casual Let's Play would turn out to be a first step on Markiplier's journey to becoming the creator he ultimately wanted to be.
Hi, my name is Markiplier. Welcome to Iron Lung. I'm gonna go into the ocean. I'm a fuck Poseidon.
While the Let's Play video was much like any other that had come before it, the game itself sparked a unique and compelling blend of tension and curiosity that captivated Markiplier while he played it. It was scary, but also mysterious. It was simple, but also included puzzling elements that felt like they needed to be solved. But perhaps the most impressive thing is that the ending accomplished something that few other games have been able to do.
I've confirmed beautifully.
It left Markiplier speechless.
That was actually excellent. That was incredible. I really loved that experience. It's so novel, it's so interesting, and it's constant and pervasive. And any game that can create a constant and pervasive sense of death lurking right outside a thin metal wall is a pretty cool game in my book. So thank you everybody so much for watching. This has been Iron Lung.
While it might have seemed like a normal Let's Play video at first, it turns out that there was far more going on in this video just below the surface. With his first big Hollywood-level production still sitting on ice without a distributor, budgeting restrictions limiting what he could do on In Space with Markiplier, and a somewhat open timeline in front of him, we would later learn that it was this playthrough that had opened his eyes to what he could accomplish if he decided to go it alone.
I feel like there is a lot of inefficiencies in the system. I do believe that nowadays there are so many different technological advances that allows more and more people to make higher level things easier. And I think that one lesson I have is that YouTube and content creators in general have a unique perspective where they have multidisciplinary skills in terms of editing and filming and doing the audio and the sound mixing. The only difference is skill level in terms of making a YouTube video to making a movie. If things can be made more efficiently, if things can become more accessible, especially with independent distribution, then there can be a way for people of all kinds of audience sizes to be able to cultivate their project and then release it on their own terms and maybe not make a profit. But hey, not everything's about making a profit. If you can break even on something and you made something cool, that adds value to the world. And I think that more of that is always going to be good.
Markiplier tried to keep his expectations low and his hopes high, and only 7 months after he posted his first playthrough of the game, he was having his first production meeting with a small team to turn it into a film. Less than 4 months later, the first day of true pre-production began, and only a month after that, Markiplier was on set and filming had officially begun.
And action!
That's me with this movie to the rest of basically the film industry to be like, hey, here's what I can do, and here's why you should pay attention to what I'm doing. And at the very same time, I'm also going to be saying, I don't need you to make what I want to make. I don't need them to give any legitimacy. With this, I'm going to stick my foot in the door, and then I'm going to rip their eyes open and show them that there is a whole new world of content creation coming for them.
Filming for Iron Lung would last just 55 days, during which time Mark would find himself in the hospital for eye trauma due to extended exposure to the food-based composite they use for blood that had begun to spoil after 2 months in the Texas heat. In addition to starring as the movie's principal actor and directing the film himself, Mark also took over editing the project on the weekends after spending his weekdays making regular content. When it became too expensive to make minor tweaks to the expensive fluid simulation shots, Mark simply took over some of the visual effects as well by building an entire render farm in his bathroom. And after just 1 more year, the first edit was done. And following a private screening for the cast and crew, the last step left was also the biggest hurdle left to clear. Edge of Sleep would eventually release at the end of 2024 on Amazon Prime, not because it was purchased to be an Amazon original, but because it was released through Amazon Direct, Amazon's self-publishing platform. And after just 1 month, it was pulled from the platform, even after cracking the top 10, becoming the 6th most watched series following its release. With the release of Iron Lung scheduled for only 3 months away, the message was clear. Making a movie isn't the hard part. It's getting the system to actually let people see it that was the true challenge. So Markiplier tempered his expectations and had the initial release scheduled for a mere 60 theaters across the country, leaving much of his audience unable to see it. However, a month before release, the last official trailer came out, and something interesting happened.
It's hard to even put into words what this is like after so many years of working on this. Always having in my mind that I'm like, I'm going to bring it to theaters. And I didn't think that it was going to be a lot of theaters, but I was going to bring it to theaters no matter what. 60 was the start. And now we're up to 1,578. Pretty much every major movie chain that you know of in the United States has picked it up.
I've said for years, for my entire time doing this YouTube thing, that there's real people behind the numbers, that it's a real thing, and you have to always treat that with respect. I just have this desire to make things.
The initial goal was 60 theaters. By the second week of the movie's release, it was over 4,000. On a budget of just over $4 million, the film would bring in over $50 million worldwide. And in true Markiplier fashion, it did so while offering theaters a 50-50 split on tickets, using the movie to organize a massive blood drive, and with the cast and crew all receiving bonuses based on the movie's performance. And perhaps the most fitting thing of all of this is that there was perhaps no one more surprised about the movie's incredible success than Markiplier himself.
It's been so hard to juggle all of this for so long. I just never expected something like this. It's so easy to get lost in the sauce when you're 3 years into a project and you've only had your reputation and your word to go on, and you believed me.
I've spent the last 2 months poring over a career that has lasted more than a decade and a half. I wasn't specifically a fan of Markiplier's before starting this project, and it's fair to say that the things he makes aren't really made for me in the first place. But as a creator who loves to tell stories, I've come to the end and I can't help but see a bit of myself in him, or see a bit of him in me. So rather than signing off and saying goodbye, I could think of no better way to bring us home than letting the man himself say exactly what I want to express.
I only ever want to set new standards for myself, to set new goals, to chase, to explore new ideas, new things I've never tried before. I've learned so much about myself in doing these things, and I still have so much left to learn. Thank you so much for your patience. Thank you for being there when I'm making these crazy things, and thank you for just watching. Thank you for watching.